Come on up, Peter.
Yeah.
So, if you have any questions about our making of the film, about the film, about what happened while we were there, or Phil, do you want to start with? Phil, do you want to start with the genesis of the film?
Yeah, this is based on something that happened to me. It was based on something that happened to me several years ago, and so I came back to LA and wrote a one-man show about it, and performed it here in LA for a while, and I played myself and 23 other characters, and then Marsha Oglesby, who's our executive producer, came to see it, and then it just kind of went from there. And here we are. 90 years later.
Feels like that.
And then, Jason here, other executive producer, emailed me one night at like 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "So what does it take for us to make this movie?" And I was like, "I'm going to bed. I don't know what he's talking about." And then, yeehaw, he wasn't kidding around. And so, yeah.
And then other people got involved with the money too in producing. Ellen
Yes.
and George.
Yes.
Yes.
And
They're up there.
are they up here somewhere? Ellen and George, who were here all the way from Texas, they came on board, and it was a weird. There's Ellen right over there. So so it was. So I ended up making a movie with a bunch of friends, and it was friggin' awesome. So, anybody have any questions?
I have one.
Yes. What are the directions to the theater?
Well, oh, that's yeah. No, when you live in Venice, you have to like really plan ahead. That's a lot of time in the car, rush hour. Did that all that? I don't remember all that voiceover. Did you add that in post?
Yes, we have.
Oh yeah, it's nice, beautiful.
Thanks.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, very nice.
I mean, what I love about this piece, I realize that it certainly has changed my life in this town. And I don't mean necessarily externally, but internally. It gave me a hope that there really are parts for old people like me. Anyway, and I'm getting older daily, so I hope that this does come out at some point. Anyway, but I mean, what I call him Flip. Okay, what Flip did was, and Donna attracted such extraordinary people. I mean, it was very, very mystical experience. This is, I don't know. I have not met you, but I assume you're our wonderful editor. Am I correct?
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I don't know, but this man also edited Ordinary People. Am I correct? And All the President's Men. Am I correct? That not so much.
Not so much that one, but.
Oh, well, go ahead. Tell him.
What, I do a resume now?
No, never mind. Okay. I mean, this is such a beautifully edited film, and I've seen this film now, 3 or 4 times around the country. There's such a stillness in it, and there's such a weightiness, and we are such a gravitas. We are really able to get inside the soul of a family, and we don't take that kind of time often in Hollywood. You know, we do more sometimes in the theater and stuff like that. Yes, we do sometimes in Hollywood, but it was a very, very special film for me to do, and for me to meet my Flip, my other son, and by the way, my other son loved it.
Good.
We couldn't talk. He has his babies he has to watch out for. And then meeting Peter, it was just, I wish I had had a couple of those love scenes with him. And Garth, I never know how to pronounce your name, but he comes from Westport, Connecticut, which is where I come from, Westport. And you were such a gem. I mean, actors have a very special experience with cinematographers. And there was something very special about this whole experience. And Donna, a wonderful producer and casting person. And it's more than, everybody did more than what they say they are. Do you know what I'm saying? Including trying to prepare Flip's own family to see this film. But we got into each other's lives, and it was just such a rich experience for me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
John Hurd, who played
Oh, yes.
who played Marriott's father and Philip's, Marriott's husband and Philip's father in the film, was unable to be here tonight, but his support of this film has really been extraordinary, and his connection with Philip has happened in a bigger sort of way, and we've all sort of become.
It was a wild thing the way it all, after waiting a long time, then, as often happens, it all came together very quickly. And how that happened was as close to a miracle as I've ever experienced, and not only then, Ellen and George, but then Kurt Donaldson, who's here coming on board. And, it was Amity Jano, who had been with it, producer ever since the first day. Where are you, Amity? Ever since in the very back. She was there in class, acting class, the first day I put up the very first scene from this thing. And she came up afterwards and said, do you ever want to have coffee and talk about this? Call me. And I was like, okay. But it was a wild thing, and then just the way Donna brought the cast together, and
Well, can I talk about mine?
yeah.
Okay. Flip had no idea who I was, and Donna brought me in to read.
She's full of shit.
Now, I've learned that I can't have any pride about reading. I can't. I just kind of put my pride by the door, come in, and give it the best shot I can. And I love this script. I don't know if you noticed it, but it is so poetic. And I just love to just listen to it. And then when you add the narration, it's fabulous. So I came in and I did the reading. I did the reading with Flip, whom I didn't know, and then he was going to be directing it, and he was going to be starring in it.
You didn't know who
Jesus,
I was?
I had no idea. And then I said, "Who's playing me as a young woman?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "I have a daughter," and I could hear him go, "Oh, it's going to be one of those meetings, right?" I have a daughter who's good, and I think she is, and her name is Justine Hartley, and she's in the back. We were all
Half as good now, And Donna looked at me, and I looked at her, and she was like, "You fucking better be good," because if he says that. So anyway, that's Peter.
It's because he was also he broke a bunch of audition kind of rules, like you don't walk in off book. He was completely off book when he walked in.
Yes.
I hate you.
And which is the whole idea with that is that if you walk in off book, it's like telling the producers that this is kind of the end of the road for the work. This is as good as it gets. It's a finished product. Not him. He walks in, basically all but tosses the sides.
Oh, come on, Peter.
And then
Jesus.
proceeds to go through all of this language.
Oh.
And,
Teacher's pet.
and the truth was, there wasn't any choice afterwards. We had to cast him.
I thought everyone went off book.
Oh, come on.
I really did. I just thought that's what you do. Okay, I worked on that auditioning thing. But good.
Anybody have any other questions?
Philip, I loved it. I just can't even tell you. I'm blown away. I do want to know how you came up with the music, because I love that too.
Wasn't it great?
Oh, this is this guy Michael Futrio who did the music. It was the wildest thing. So when I told my partner Luis on the back row there, I said, you know, I'm looking for some antique kind of gospel sort of song, and so he was sending me a link to like this sound, and the Smithsonian had all this music and whatever, and then I Googled whatever the crazy thing after 3 beers at 3 in the morning. I was Googling like antique mountain music, religious, blah, blah, blah. And this thing came up. The first thing that came up, it was this guy's website, Michael Futrio. And I sent it to Ellen Raff, our producer, and she said, I'm going to call him. And I'm like, wait. You know, and she's like, no, you got to go. I'm going to contact him for you. You got to. So anyway, turns out this guy makes these instruments that he played this music with. He makes them from like out of garden vegetables and shit.
Perfect for our film.
So like out of gourds, or he would call me and go, you know, I've just written this song. I made it from an old ironing board from the 1850s. What? So, and he wrote all this music just from script all the way through it. It wasn't, he didn't see the movie after it was finished and start doing the music. He just wrote it from the script. So he's amazing.
Do you have anything to say?
I could say something. Okay, so I came into this process late, and I got a call from a friend who said they have a friend who's a filmmaker, and he's done this film that he lived, wrote, acted, and directed, and was involved in the production. And I thought, well, that's a nightmare. And how are you going to talk this guy out of everything? He's going to be in love with every single thing that he did, wrote, said, shot, and lived. But I read the script and I thought, this is like everybody else. This is really quite well written. Well, all right, I'll meet the guy. So we went to a Starbucks in Santa Monica, and there's something about him that's really likable and real and honest. And the film is exactly like that. It's real and honest and human, and you get to see everybody's guts, but they're not ugly. And my job as an editor is to take out the stuff that doesn't work. And I was just sitting here thinking, there's really nothing that we took out. I mean, every single thing that was in there is still in there. It's just we shaped it and trimmed it a little bit, but there were no bad parts. So it was pretty easy to put this thing together. And all these people are great. And you know, I've made some films and varying budgets from very little money to a fairly large amount of money. And every time I watch this thing, I just can't believe how consistently good it is, and how, I guess,
How nobody got paid.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that part about nobody getting paid, but it's very, very, it's kind of unique. I mean, on every level, this movie works, and I can say that because I wasn't there when it was really born. I was sort of there. I'm like the pediatrician, and it's just there's something very special about it. I mean, from the writing to all the way through the finishing, which this is the first time I've seen the film finished, and it just stayed consistently right. And I know that Philip must have had something to do with that.
You had a whole lot. I mean, you made me cry a whole lot of times, and yet, you know, we came through it, and I appreciate it. You would always have to call me and say, you know, I hate to tell you, but I just need you to look at this scene, and I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, it's in the end, you were always right. 99% of the time, you were right. Yes, Peter.
I want to get back to this voiceover thing.
Yes.
So that voiceover, I found it so poetic. And was this a decision? Was this your decision? Was this your idea? Where did this come
The
from?
way I remember it, I was feeling like there were certain, I don't know if it was transitions or just there were little moments when you wanted to feel the soul behind this. And I said to him, you know, maybe that you could write some stuff here and here and here, and I don't know, it would just sort of keep us involved. He said, well, the play actually had a whole bunch of that.
Right.
And he just went back and then came back and had all this stuff. And it is, it's so poetic and it's so, organic to him and to all the other characters. And we literally, my son has a recording set up in one of the rooms in the house. We went upstairs and he read it a few times, each little section, and it was kind of perfect.
It was great because he's a really good voiceover director. So be like, can you try it again? And, but it's really, he took it to a different place. So.
And you better be careful with the voiceover because you're sitting next to someone who did actual commercials for Polaroid.
Yeah, I know. She made one or two. Oh, that's who she was.
That's it, yeah. No, I wasn't married to
I got a
Jim.
question over here.
Yeah, Felipe. Felipe.
Yes. Oh, wait.
First of all, great job.
Thank
I knew I'd love it. It was wonderful. Knowing a little bit about the state where you're from, tell me where you're from.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about it.
All we'll tell you is that we shot most of the interiors in LA, and if we told you where we shot the rest of the stuff, we'd have to kill you.
But she's sitting in this room.
So that's what I'm going to tell you. Yes.
I hope this doesn't get into too much personal stuff, but the loss that you've documented is a loss that almost everybody eventually goes through. What makes it tragic for you, and in my case 22 years ago, is that it happened so early in our lives. When I saw you do your one-man show, I thought how difficult that must have been, but it was probably very cathartic. But I'm curious what your mindset was like going back into this project, going back into that painful period in your life. Did you ever second guess yourself and wonder, why am I making myself live through this again? Or did it continue to be cathartic for you? And I'm just curious what your mindset was like in the production process.
I got back to LA. I had, index cards everywhere, it was a couple years later before I could do anything with it because it was still so raw. I will say that the one-man show was cathartic. And then, there were times still when I was in the editing room with Jeff, and we'd get to the part, at the end with my mom here, and I would just have to kind of stare at the floor and just kind of look at it out of the corner of my eye and make notes on that. I couldn't look straight at it because it was too much. And still, I can't look right at it. I just have to look sort of at it. So that's how that went down.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. You talk.
Are you sure?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I have a question for Gareth. How did you become involved with the project? And then what's an obstacle that you had to go through, whether it's shooting with natural light that you had to deal with the film, and then what's something pleasant about it that was a positive experience looking back and working with the crew that you had?
Well, obstacles, we had many of those,
Yeah.
obviously.
Had what?
Many obstacles,
Oh.
as in any production, whether low budget or higher budget. But no, I got involved. I think I replied to a posting online on some website, and I got a call from Paul, and then he set up an interview with the old Philip there, which I managed to be late for. But he was gracious enough to still see me and listen to what I had to say. It started there. But we, like everybody here, I read a wonderful script, and that was the first thing that drew me to the project and made me want to really delve into this world that Philip had created. We had a wonderful crew, and I can't, they made it happen, really, day in and day out. It was challenging. We had a very short schedule, and many scenes to shoot every day. And yeah, after chaotic for first and second day, we got our rhythm going, and we finally got it down to the science, and we made it happen. And it was it's like every project, it's a learning experience, and it was a wonderful experience, especially in a human sense, because everybody involved here, you know, in front of the camera, behind the scenes, you know, wardrobe, production design, RPAs, everybody was there with a smile and a wonderful energy, because they all understood that we were doing something special. And that makes a hell of a lot of difference when you're doing something on a limited budget. And I can only be thankful for the team that was assembled by our producers, and for me it was, you know, a wonderful experience, and I'm very happy and proud to be a part of it.
You know, G, it was, and I want to thank producer Paul Hardister, wherever he is out here, because he called me. It was way late in the game, like so many great things happened, and he said, "There's one more DP I want you to meet." And I went, "No more DPs." No. And he's like, "No, there's one more I want you to meet." And I'm like, "But it's Sunday, I want to sleep in." And he's like, and it was this guy. And I remember we just started talking at the infamous Starbucks, and we just said, "Let's go for a walk." So we started walking, and I remember we had been talking like 10 minutes, and I thought, I want to climb in this guy's back pocket and live there. It was like I suddenly felt so safe, and it's the way we were when we were working. I wish every first-time director could have somebody like this, because it was like we were in a little pod, the two of us, and it was almost never scary, and yeah. So, anybody else?
Well, I have a comment. This is my first, I didn't know anything about the women show, and I'm a parent of young adults, and when I look at a film, I tend to think about it in terms of, okay, well, what kind of conversations am I going to have with my kids about this? What way can I help them learn about the world? And there's just so much richness in this film, and one of the things I especially liked about it is the lack of medicalization of the death of the mom. That she seems very powerful in her taking on her life and what's going to happen next. And I'm wondering how you came about, how did you decide how to portray her that way? It was really cool.
Thank you. You know, I mean, she really took this thing on and wanted to do it in her own way. So very soon after, she said, you know, I don't want any of the treatments. I don't want to, you know, I just want to do this holistically. So it was a journey for all of us, you know. And I mean, we ended up going up to the Smokies, to this macrobiotic community. Like, we would go every time the seasons changed, and they would teach us how to eat and how to, you know, I was there for like 3.5 years. She was given like 3 months to live with stage 4 lung cancer, and she ended up living about 3, and living well until almost the very end. So we weren't as much focused on that, and we didn't see doctors very often, like almost never after her first thing.
Well, we so appreciate you all coming out and viewing our film. And as I said, you can like us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media stuff. Thank you all so very much. Have a very good evening.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Is there anybody here who thinks Steve Carell could have done it better?